Hello, I'm Jason.
Hello.
This is Swilcanum. I am the tarot wizard, and Swilcanum is the spiritual healer, the shaman. And we're going to talk to you today about what it is that Swilcanum does in the world. What do you do in the
Mhm.
world, Swilcanum?
Well, lately I do about as close to nothing as possible. I just stay at home. I spend a lot of time on on the phone, talking to people, and just being present to their situation, and then just sharing that with sharing that time. Being present is what I'm doing lately.
Do you find that a lot of people are on the ledge and all, and you're
A lot
talking
of
them off the
people are
ledge?
having a Yeah, a lot of people are having a hard time.
Yeah.
Um, it's been really tough. Um, I what's um, I've been making a lot of memes and posting it on my Instagram. So Spolkanum is my one word. you, in real life, my name is Swilcanum, two words, one name. You don't for not a first and last name. It's two words.
Hmm.
And on Instagram, it's Swilcanum, all lowercase, Swilkanim. So I've been generating a lot of memes, and most of those memes come out of conversations that I have with people um, of all different faiths um, that come to me for, hope, um, maybe pray. Uh, I don't, I don't pray like anybody I know. Lori and I do a lot of praying, like everything. My wife and I, we we hold we hold up the power of prayer. We know that some people have callings in the world, and ours is prayer for others. And as a team, um, we do that in our marriage, and it's a beautiful way of um, our reconnection to each other and to the universe. So what I do um, in the prayer for to live up to my name as Swilcanum, is I look at the notion that the mystery between us is in our relationship is the spirit. So um, you are who you are, the wizard. I am who I am, the shaman, spiritual healer.
Hmm.
The mystery of our relationship, what's happening between us, is spirit. It's the spirit of our relationship. So how we relate to one another. You're one of the kindest, most gentle human beings I have ever met. And I choose to be in a relationship with you and celebrate that and hold the relationship as, in the spirit of that relationship, in high esteem. I lift that up. I think the work that you and I are going to do in the world is going to be immensely powerful. I just believe that with all my heart. And so someone calls me with a problem, um, I reflect back to them uh, that their relationship to the problem is the spirit of the problem, and that you can speak to the spirit. You can speak to the spirit of the problem. Their relationship to the problem is the spirit of that, and that they are responsible for that relationship. And trust me, um, what I just said is really simple, but it isn't easy. Like, right? It's like, um, um, you know, with everything that I think I am and everything that everybody else thinks I am, even then, my weaknesses, my concerns, my frustrations, all this kind of stuff, will come out, and it will affect my relationship to my wife. But I hold up that relationship, and I choose to throw away all the other stuff that's interfering with that relationship and get back into that relationship.
Mhm.
And that's where we find peace. That's where we reignite love. We reconnect as a marriage. So what I do, um, that works for me, I share that with others, and that's what makes me a spiritual healer. I don't, um, I don't even try. I, in fact, if I ever do try, I probably are messing something up. But I don't even try to jump across that. I just recognize that what's between us is a sacred relationship, and it's my job to take care of that, the spirit of that relationship, and then help people see that their relationship to others is spiritual too. And um, what's really amazing about that is that my that philosophy is what allowed for me to be present to your sister Tara, and allowed for me to be present to just the most amazing people in my life, um, including you, Jason. It allows me to be fully present, and that authentically, um, without, because man, I'm a judgment making machine. I will judge myself. I'll judge others. I'll judge, that's just what I do. My relationship to that judgment, that, that stuff that stops me from loving someone, that relationship to judgment, I'm responsible for. And doing that healing work in my life allowed me to be present to the joy and love that you and your whole family have to offer. And being a traumatized foster kid in the presence of a loving family that you are a part of, I'm going to get a lump in my throat. It's a joyous lump. Um, Being present to the love of your family is, it's healing to me. And the truth is, if I'm looking back at the whole thing, my choice to be a part of that healing, my choice to be in that, is what allowed for that, the relationship to the spirit of the notion of family. That choice to do that work in between me and the word family's there, and I'm here, and that the spirit of that work, honoring that relationship, is what eventually allowed for me to be present to Tara, you, your mom, your sisters. Totally amazing to experience. And I know that what happens when we truly honor the spirit of relationships, when that happens, my soul heals and another person's soul heals. It's just the byproduct. I focus on this. That's just what I do. So other people can do, like you do, soul. Um, you do a lot of the soul work that you do. My focus is on relationships, the spirit of relationships, and that's what I do as a shaman. As a violinist, my music was always that for me. Like, that's what healed me when I was 10 years old, and I could put my heart and life into the violin. When I did that for myself, when I was really present to the desire that was in my heart to passionately play the violin, I didn't even realize what I was doing was spiritual as a 10-year-old kid, that it was a spiritual effect. I loved to play at church. You were raised Lutheran, I was raised Methodist. And um, I, I would love to play at church because it was literally a sanctuary for that qualitative expression of being who I am. That was awesome for me. That was really powerful to experience.
Did
Boy, I'm
did the
digging my
church
beard.
your your little thin white beard
Yeah,
there?
yeah,
That's longer than mine. I'm
yeah.
jealous.
Because mine connects to the internet and goes out to the universe.
Well, I could probably plug mine in somewhere, maybe a light
Mhm.
socket or something, and I could feel the universe in that.
Mhm.
I'd be seeing
Mhm.
stars for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
With you know, you were referring to uh, being with my family there in Sedona,
Oh
where we
my
did
God.
the Shaman Apex, where Tara, you know, my sister,
Hmm.
your good friend,
Yes.
Walter's Soaring Eagle,
Oh.
myself, and yourself, Swilcanum.
Hmm.
It's like the four of us combined, because there was like a different approach towards what everyone brought to it, but
Hmm.
it was like an anchor at all these four corners. It was like a
Yes.
very solid representation of you know, helping people move through their own, whether it was like a past life regression, or uh, a kundalini rising experience, or where we're activating our best self for the work that we need to do in the world. It was like this solid anchor. And and what you brought to it,
Hmm.
as a facilitator, as a participant as well, because we all had that that role as both. You know, it's like when you're doing your thing, I'm sitting back and I'm absorbing it, taking it in.
Hmm.
And your ability to create sacred space where, in your own experience in your own life, your openness with that, your heart center, that's just
Hmm.
wide open, in
Yeah.
that where people can see themselves. They
One of
allow
yeah.
themselves to see, you know, what it is that you're going through at your depth, and then they can see themselves.
One of the many blessings of overcoming depression and suicide was the the ultimate lesson I got out of it, that I still apply. There's many lessons, but I think the most significant lesson, beyond overcoming my own thoughts about myself and others, that's a whole nother interview process that we can work on some other day. But the one of the biggest lessons was that from that moment on, there were no risks. Like, if I have a clear intention to work on relationship, spiritual work, that I'm not risking anything telling people the truth about me. I'm not risking anything. I have I have already, and this is all icing on the cake from this moment on. I that the greater risk, the greatest risk, I believe, is holding back your authentic self. Um, so that notion of creating a sacred space, let's be clear about that was intentional. It was my intention to create a sacred space for people to understand that our presence to one another and the acceptance of our presence to one another is literally a life and death situation. And I knew that before the virus, before all of this. I've always known that at some level, how I treat anyone else, um, if I don't see the greatest potential in every moment, then and they don't see that in themselves, how are they ever going to see it if I don't point it out? If I can't lift them up? And when I was a drill sergeant in the Army, I was a motivator. I would motivate them to graduate from basic training. Now I inspire. I reach inside people and help them to see their highest potential. Has most likely nothing to do with my motivation, what I want out of them. It's about them. It's about them finding that inside themselves. So when you create a sacred space in just by walking into a room with a clear intention, when I do that, when I walk into it, I'm trying to own this as the shaman. I'm not trying to use you statements. You're helping me with this. So when I walk in to a space, or get ready to tell a story or play my violin, to model that the healing of sacred relationships, or the spirit of relationships. When I choose to walk into that, a sacred space automatically happens. It's just what happens. It's just what happens. It's an amazing thing, and I think about, all the fear that we are going through right now as a nation and as a world, people, um, and remembering from my perspective that when it comes to spiritual battles, in the spirit of love, for every fear, there's more than enough courage. And how you tap into that courage is through the training. And that's what I admire about your work. I haven't even touched the tarot. I mean, that hasn't been a source of understanding for me. But I witnessed the magic in you, and I've witnessed that. Recognizing that magic, that the power of that work that you do, and the power and the work that Tara does and Soaring Eagle does, all these perspectives, all with the intention of kindness and love and faith and hope, and all of that, from all of those perspectives, I have more hope in my life and more peace in my life than I've ever experienced. Um, I'm learning the true value of the notion: believe in all things. Believe in it. That it's hard to believe that it's hard. Oh my God, I'm not saying it's easy, but I believe in this virus. I believe it's real. I believe that what will come out of this is humanity's greatest potential, that we will love one another, that we will hold each other in high esteem on the other side of this, that we will party together when this is over, that we will never, ever forget that we are all connected. We are all connected by strands of our stories, and those stories are important. And that as they all weave together, they create a really strong bond of love. And that's where I stand humbly. My story, the things I've overcome, are just a simple strand, but everyone else's stories, everyone else's relationships, we are all connected to this. And it's easy for, one corner of the blanket to, yell at the other corner of the blanket for not being, this corner of the blanket. That would just make us a big ball, right? But really, we're a blanket,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We need to be who we are, that every strand matters, every story matters, every spiritual gift that is received from overcoming an obstacle in life matters. And I know we only want to keep this a half an hour. I'm ready to go. You got me all riled up. I'm going to start going.
I got you all riled up. You're putting that on my shoulders.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
One of the things that I've been talking to, and hopefully anyone who, you don't have to be like a self-proclaimed healer or light worker or spiritual being. It's just someone who's aware, who can recognize that within us to take this crisis that we're going through, and to remember the lessons of it, remember our
Yes.
humanity, so that when we do get to the other side of it, and we will get to the other side of it, is where we don't squander that awareness, and where we don't just try to go back to a state of normalcy,
Mm-hmm.
where we can learn from it, and and allow for ourself to expand into a greater version of ourself, a better
Mm-hmm.
version of ourself. It doesn't have to be the best. It doesn't have to be the perfect version of ourself, but to recognize that if we're looking to be able to sustain our own humanity in a way that where our lives, where they matter, where a sense of purpose within us that we can feel, that we know is there, but sometimes we don't know how to express it fully, without sounding like we're odd. That we're sounding like, it's like, who are you, right? Who do
You
you
know
think you are? And it's like,
what?
well, let me tell you who I am. I'm a
What's that?
wizard. He's a shaman, right?
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
and it doesn't mean that we're trying to be like, completely out of the atmosphere lofty. It means that we're trying to help, and and help people be in a place where they care about their own way forward, that they care to be in sync with their own spirit, that they care about those around them, so that the potential of this growth can be like really wonderful upcoming. And as it's happening now, it's like, just because we're homebound doesn't mean that we can't like set the stage for ourselves when it's time to really step out into that better version of ourselves. I'm sorry, I interrupted. You were going to say something profound.
What? No. Now I forgot. I'm in the joy of this, man. I
Yeah.
mean, I'll tell you, the because just for the people who don't know our conversation, this notion that I'm a shaman is still fairly new to me, right? I mean, even though 20 years ago, um, I was recognized and acknowledged and wrapped in a blanket in a ceremony by a matriarch, um, and from our people. She wrapped me in a blanket and acknowledged me as a healer. I still wasn't willing to embrace the notion that I'm a shaman. I mean, it's a new thought, right? And but the truth is that if someone needs help, and I don't know why it's making me cry, um, uh,
Because you care.
maybe because I care. If someone needs help addressing the spirit of a relationship, I'm that guy. I'm the guy that can help you with that. I'm not a counselor. I'm not. I'm not a therapist. I'm just. How do you qualify someone as a spiritual healer except a train of people who believe that the spirit of their relationships have been healed by my music, by my stories, by me, by my presence, by walking into a school and changing the culture of the school in one 45-minute session in a school assembly, and people were going, wow, what just happened? Like, how come the kids aren't enemies anymore? How come they are recognizing the power of honoring one another? How come what's the deal? Like, how come they're all working together to all graduate rather than competing against one another? And like, how did that happen? It's because of the teachings that were given me through my life experience. And I'm just sharing that with people. And how many times does that have to happen before I can call myself a shaman? And I still don't know if that's going to be a part of my marketing plan or anything. I'm always going to be Solcanum. Like, maybe the branding of shaman's just going to shut things down. I really don't know. And I really don't care. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and caring for people and their relationships to everything around them. You know, there's one thing I know is the notion of praying, and tapping in to the divine providence, that is cross-cultural. People do that, have done that from the beginning of man till right now. And people pray. Um, and I just want to point out something about just the word universe. It's uni, like as in one,
One.
and verse as in the word. It's like in some creation stories that, in the beginning, the world was formless and void, and then it was spoken with the word, let there be light. And so now I'm realizing that there is a universe full of light. And that's what I recognize in you, Mr. Wizard, because you carry a light, and that burns. And it enlightens me, it lightens my load, it changes my relationship to the world through the work that you do. And I cannot say I understand it. It's not my job. That's your job. If I ever get so curious as to say, how does this work? Maybe I'll work with you on that, figure that out. But for now, I celebrate the notion that your whole life experience has given me the gifts that I've received from you. And I see now the notion that I'm a shaman without judgment, without just a recognition that what is, and my job is my job, and I will continue to serve the people in whatever way I can. Storytelling, music, um, or even just having conversations like this.
Your name,
Yeah.
Swilcanum,
Mm-hmm.
means
Pulls or works for the spirit of the people. And that was given to me almost 20 years ago. I guess over 20 years ago now.
was that the same blanket ceremony?
No, that was a ceremony right before that. But yeah, pretty close.
That, that,
That blanket that blanket ceremony was, spiritual leader. Her name, was Vi Hilbert, my auntie Vi Hilbert. She almost single-handedly saved the Lushootseed language, and highly recognized, very intellectual, very, oh, just an amazing woman, spiritual leader. Um, she had a gathering of healers at the spiritual center, the Swinomish tribe, just south of us. And um, she she asked me to, bring Chattaskatum, which Talem, which everyone around me knew as a spiritual healer and leader, and he she told me to talk to him about smoking. So the whole way to the house, to the spiritual conference, I was giving him a hard time about smoking. You just had a heart attack. Oh, you survived this, and this is going to affect your blood pressure. This is going to affect your, this is affect your healing. You've got diabetes. You got to heal it. I just laid into him the whole trip, 45 minutes, and he was like, "Whoo!" We got out. We got out. And then so she lined up all the healers that she was recognizing, and then I was the last one, and she called me up and she goes, um, Swolcanum, or Richard Marshall then. She goes, "It's your turn." And so I walk over and I start to play my violin. I was going to play my violin. She goes, "No, no, 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 stand right here. We're gonna." And then I felt the blanket come around, and I was, "No, I'm not a healer.
Oh,
You
wow.
can't do. You can't put this on me." And she goes, "No, no." And then she, in her just a really still small voice, she said, "Your stories, your music, did they heal you? Yes. Do you share them with others? Yes. That makes you a healer." It's like, oh my God, if that I can share my stories, share my music, share my presence with others, and it heals them because it healed me. Even being present to myself, that's the story about being on the Aurora Bridge, about to kill myself. Being present to myself and recognizing that in my darkest hour, I could think about the well being of someone else. In that story, I was healing myself. And that's what I have to offer the world. You can find out more information at soulcanum.com. Find me on Instagram, Soulcanum. My Facebook's full. I just leave a couple political posts. I might empty out some people. I mean, they empty themselves out, and I'll have room. But we'll, you can follow my music page at Soulcanum also. Soulcanum
And
Music.
one thing before we leave here, when you when we first connected here
Mm.
today, just before we started recording,
Mm-hmm.
you said something about how when you're helping someone else, that you don't get tired by it. When you're doing the work of consoling someone or soothing someone, that you don't get tired by it. And to be given a title like shaman, right? It's a weight, right? It's a weight on your shoulders. You start feeling
Mm-hmm.
like you have to carry the
No,
responsibilities of a lot of thing, right? And
that's how I thought it was going to be. I thought it was
yeah,
going to be that, but really, honestly, I mean, after I get lots of people contacting me and messaging me and all that till wee hours of the night. Um, I thought I would get tired during this break, right? And because I am authentically being who I am, not resisting it, not resisting the name or whatever anybody calls me, whether they mess up Swilcanum, call me Swill or S to the K, which is
which I've done.
whatever. Yeah, that's okay. That's all good. As long as you know who I am authentically, right?
Yes.
It's like, and that's what really matters, right? And I'm hearing that. So to those that are doing the work that requires physical energy, like nursing or being a doctor, and the mental strain of being, I'm saying yes, in that work, be exhausted, right? So that when you rest fully and allow yourself to get back on the healing trail. I'm saying that resisting who you are takes a lot of energy. And I'm saying that from a life experience. Know who you are and don't resist it. And if that means past life regression work, which I thought was ridiculously woo woo kind of stuff, but the moment I experienced it, I was like, oh, that's the purpose. Because I was resisting who I am. And now I can let go of that.
Absolutely.
Isn't it funny? Letting go of the resistance allows for me to be who I am authentically.
Yeah.
And that's why I love you, man. That's why
Wait,
that's why what we have is so amazing.
that's why I love you.
I,
It's weird. It's weird how that works.
yeah, I love that word weird.
Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you. And again, if people want to connect with you,
mm-hmm,
swilcanum.com,
mm-hmm.
one word, right? On
Yeah,
.com?
SWILKANIM.com.
.com. All right.
And um and then there's the social networks. I'm Swilcanum, Twitter, one word, um, Instagram, Facebook. I think that's it.
Are there a lot of other swilcanums that people might get you confused with someone else?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, okay. It's like,
In fact, if you forget how to spell Swilcanum and you Google Native American violinist, I'm like in the top 5 or so.
and people can see your
Yeah.
picture with your little thin white beard, right?
Yes. My That's right.
The one that connects to the internet.
Yes.
All right. Much love to you, Swilcanum, and to
uh,
your beautiful wife, Lori.
uh, Love you all. You take care.
And we'll continue this, to be continued. To be continued.
Amen. I hope so, brother.
All right. Bye.
Bye.